Okay, for each project or module, you're going to have a set of vocabulary terms that you're responsible to know. I will put them in a Pages document inside your module. You will click open that vocabulary, and it'll give you probably 8 to 15 words of vocabulary for each project, and you're responsible to know each of these. You can study them for the quiz. I've given you a chart to help you learn those. So what we're going to do is, for each of those modules, you'll have a chart that gives you the word and then the definition. And right here in these empty boxes is where I want you to put artwork that goes along with those terms. We're also going to study an artist for each one of these, so that way you can see a specific artist's work while you're going through trying to find the image that fits those terms. At the bottom, I'll have you look for an interesting fact about that artist. So instead of writing a report or doing a whole workbook page on it, you're just going to find an interesting fact about that artist, and you'll include a quote that you like about that artist. So the first one we're going to study is Pablo Picasso, and you're going to find artwork by Pablo Picasso and put them here in each of these boxes. So to get you started, I have put my interesting fact that I found out about him, and I just went onto the internet and looked up Pablo Picasso, and I read through several websites. And this one I thought was interesting, that even into his 80s and 90s, Picasso produced an enormous amount of work and reaped the financial benefits for his success. Many artists, as you know, end up being worth more after they pass away. Pablo was proficient throughout his lifetime, so he was able to spend his earnings. He ended up dying in 1973, leaving an artistic legacy that continues today. So he's one of the most popular artists that people know. So I copied this and I put it back into the chart for an interesting fact that I found about him. And then the quote that I've always loved about Pablo Picasso, and I just put in quotes by Picasso, was that all children are artists. The problem is, how do you remain an artist once you grow up? And the reason why I like that one with Pablo is because if you look at his artwork, they're all very childlike, most of his popular stuff. Pablo is actually a very good artist for making realistic artwork as well, but he's well known for his abstract or interesting pieces. So here's a whole bunch of pieces. I just looked it up on the internet and I typed in the words artwork by Pablo Picasso. Now I'm going to find artwork that fits in each of these terms. So the first one is asymmetry, which is a lack of equality or equivalence between parts of an aspect or something. So we're looking at artwork. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to look for a piece that is asymmetrical. So this one would not work. It's very symmetrical. If I cut it in half, it's the same on one side as it is the other. So since I know that term's coming up, I might pull this over onto my desktop and save it for later. And now I want to look for something that's more asymmetrical. You have to be careful because sometimes on these pages there might be artwork that was not Pablo's. So you want to be careful not to put somebody else's artwork in there. But as I look at his artwork, I kind of think that I'm going to go with something that's not symmetrical. This cubism still life, if I cut it in half, it's definitely not the same on one side as the other. It's balanced in the middle, but it definitely has different pieces going on. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that one off for asymmetry. And then I'm going to go back to my chart, click on that box. Remember, you have to make a copy of this chart to have your own chart. So before you do anything, make sure you file, copy, and then save as your name into your drive. Then you're going to go into the chart, put here, insert, image, into cell, and then you're going to find your asymmetrical one and drop it right there. So there's my asymmetrical one. Here's my symmetry one, a balance of parts on opposite sides of a perceived midline. So I said this one was my symmetry. So I'm going to go in, insert, image, into cell, and drop that piece of artwork. Then I'm going to go back and look for balance, collage, composition, geometric shape, negative space, positive space, principles of design, looking at these definitions. If you have a broad term like composition, actually each one of these is a composition in its own, because composition, if you look at the definition, is the overall placement of organization of elements in a work of art, as well as the interrelationship between the individual elements. So technically, any of these could work for composition. So I'm going to go in, I'm just going to pick one of my favorite pieces. So as I'm going down, I've always kind of liked this piece. So I'm going to pull that over, and then I'm going to put that in my composition chart. So I'm going to go to Insert, Image, Image into Cell, and then drag that into my browser. Now I'm going to look for something that has geometric shapes, negative space, positive space. This is, again, one of those general ones where it has principles of design. Those principles of design we learned from the last time, which were balance, contrast, dominance, emphasis, movement, repetition, rhythm, variation, and unity. So I could go into any of these, and again, all of them have some principle of design, and then I'm just going to choose my favorite one to fit in there. So if it doesn't fit perfectly, then just pick one of your favorite pieces that you like. And then go back, Principles of Design, Insert, Image, into Cell, and drag that over. Okay? So we're going to do that for all of the pieces in here. Okay? Don't forget your interesting fact and your quote. When you are finished, you are going to make it small enough that you can either take a screenshot of, so you can either go in, take a screenshot of the entire piece, and then submit that into Google or into your Canvas drive, or you can go into download as a PDF, then I'm going to export it, and then that you can put into your Canvas assignment.